Hi guys, welcome back to NASA Strength. So, learning how to make this beautiful skirt is a pencil skirt with a drape. So, if it's something you're interested in knowing, keep watching and let's get started. So, these are the fabrics I'll be working with. These are the materials I'll be working with. I have my lining piece, my scissors, and my other pieces. Okay, so I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into four, leaving a space for my zip allowance. Okay, you know this needs to have a zip at the back because it is not a stretchy fabric. All right, so to fold this, you just need the circumference of your hip. All right, and this is our center front and our center back. That means the upside will serve as our front piece, and then the other one will serve as the back piece. So I'm just going ahead to roll a line across that's going to serve as our starting line and also the waistline. So from that point, I'll be taking the measurement of my skirt. Now I'm leaving 2 inches out, which will serve as my band. And from there, I'm going to take the length I want my skirt to be. And after that, I will also be taking my hip point, which is 8 inches. Now, one thing you should note is that because of we're going to be turning this over with lining, you need to add hemming allowance to the end of your skirt. So I went ahead to add 2 inches to mine. That will serve as my hemming allowance. So the last line we have there is the hemming allowance. Then the next one is the actual length of our skirt. Okay. Then we have our hip points. And I'll just go ahead and make a line at the hip area. So we have our vertical measurements all placed down. You can see the first one is the waist. So on the from the waistline where we have the closed end from our center front, I'll take quarter of my waist measurement, and then I'm going to add 1 inch for my that, and then I will add 2 inches for my stitching allowance. Hip area, I'll do the same thing. Take quarter of my hip measurement and then add 2 inches for my stitching allowance. All right. Then to get the circumference for the knee, I'll minus 6 inches from my round hip. Now my round hip is 40 inches minus 6, I have 34, and I'll divide 34 by 4. Okay, and what I have there is 8.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 8.5. This is because the skirt is a pencil skirt, and I went ahead to also add my 2 inches of stitching allowance. I'll go right ahead and make my connection with my rule like so. So we've connected this. You can see our lines boldly outlined. So the next thing we want to do is to work on the zip allowance area. Okay, you can see the curve right there. So for the zip allowance area at the waist point, I took 1 inches, and at the hip area I took 2 inches, and at the end of this I'm also going to take 1 inch. Sorry, at the waist area I took 1.5 inches. I took 2 inches at the hip area, and then at the full length of this I took 1 inches. Okay, the reason why the hip is bigger is for the butt allowance. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and use my rule to give it a little curve at that end because it is not all straight. So we'll just go ahead and cut this out. Have at the end of the day. So For the front area, we're going to reduce the front by 1 inch. So from the center front, I went down by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect it to nothing at the other end. This is so that we'll have a balance in front and the skirt will not be folding in front. Okay, you know that fold you usually have in front of your skirt after stitching down. This is simply to avoid that. So I'll just go ahead and take out the XX I don't need anymore. So you can see what this looks like. So we're going to mark our darts right now. To get your dart, the dart is simply the bust span, the distance from one nipple to the other. You divide that by 2 and then add half of an inch to that. Okay, so I did that and I went ahead to make a notch at that point. So I'm making another notch at the end here to indicate my hemming allowance, right? So when you cut this out on your lining, also indicate this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut this out on our lining piece right now. So we finished cutting this on the lining. You can see what we have like this. Okay, so what we want to do is to join our lining to the material piece. So you place your lining on it like so. Go ahead and stitch this. All right, so I've done it. This is what it looks like, and I also gave it a very good press for it to be relaxed at the end of the day. So this is what we have. You can see our skirt in front. It looks nice, all covered up nicely. So I want to impute my dots. I'm going to fold this back so that I can get the accurate lines I measured earlier for my dart. So I'll just place this like this so we can get a good view of this. Okay, so what we want to do, we already made a notch at their place, but if you're not sure, you can go ahead and take it again. For me, what I have is 4 inches. The length of my dart, it's going to be 5 inches. Okay, so your dart doesn't need to be too long. 4 or 5 inches is okay. And I went ahead to connect this with a straight line like so. So I'm just showing you how to properly dart your skirt. Okay, from the both ends, that's the waist area of this, I'll go in and out on both sides by half of an inch. I'll just mark half of an inch on the two sides, and then I'll connect it to the other sharp end of this like so. This is just simply to show you how to properly dart your skirt if you didn't have an idea of it. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. I'll just use a part to show you, and I'll go ahead to dart it out on the other parts of my skirt, the front, the back, and the two sides of the front. So this is what I'll do. You can see. So what you do is just pick this up like so. All right, you pick the middle line, place it this way on your machine. You can also pin it down, right? And then go ahead and make a stitch following the lines which you drew. So I've done that. You can see my dart positioned on this. Look at how nice this came out. So ensure you iron it out so that it gets flattened. Okay, so I also went ahead to do the same thing to my back piece. I've also turned it over with my lining, and I also went ahead to dart it. You can see the dart there. All right, so we want to get to sewing this down. What we'll do is to place our back piece front facing front together, ensure they're well placed, ensure they're well arranged, and we're going to place it this way. Then you can see the curve we have there. We're going to bring in our front piece, okay? Then place it like so on top of it. Now, this is because we already turned this over with a lining. We do not want our allowance to be shortened. That is the reason why we're placing both of them together. So we're going to place it like this so you can see the zip allowance we are left with after turning this over. So what we'll do is to mark the length of our zip, where the zip is going to sit on our waist. So where I want my zip to stop, because the zip doesn't need to get onto under your butt, I want my zip to stop at 8 inches. I went ahead to mark it down. All right, sorry, 7 inches. Then you mark the length of the slit you want. Okay, I marked 10 inches, but I went ahead later to reduce that because I noticed it was too high of a sleeve of a slit for me, sorry. So I went ahead to reduce that later, but I marked 10 inches here. Okay, so if you want your slit, the higher you mark, the more open your slit is. I don't know if you understand. So the higher you mark, the more open your slit is. So you can see the lines we have, I marked there. That is the area where I'm going to stitch down. The up part is my zip allowance area, while the down part is my slit allowance, okay, my slit opening. So if you want your slit to be more, go ahead and take more. But you know, if you're making this in a longer version of your skirt, you have to use a longer slit. The slit is so you have easy access to movement, right? So I'll just go ahead and roll this line together so that while I'm stitching this, I'll make no mistakes. So I'll go over to the machine and stitch on that line. So I've stitched it. You can see how this looks like. Okay, so this is a slit opening and that is my zip allowance area. Okay, so to make my slit opening more relaxed, I will use a hemming comb and place it underneath this like so, and go ahead and iron it down. All right, I'll do the same thing for the other end. Also place my hemming comb in between it and then iron it properly. You want to give it a very good press so that it is very, very relaxed. So I've done that. You can see how this looks like. It turns out very nice. So let's work on our drape right now. So this is the piece I'll be using for the drape, and I've gone ahead to hem the edges of this. I actually hemmed 3 parts of this and I left one end unhemmed. Okay, so I'll take the measurement for this so you know the measurement I'm using. Okay, so after hemming, I have this at 19 inches in width, and then I have about 40 or 40 something inches thereabout in length. Okay, so what I want to do, this is simply my drape. You can use a wider width or a longer length. Okay, it depends on the length of your skirt. The width depends on how much drape you want your skirt to also have. Okay, it totally depends on you. So I want to be placing my drape from the right side of my skirt. Okay, so I'll go down from that end by half of an inch. Now this is because my band is still going to enter the other part of this, so you don't want your band to interrupt with the drape. I don't know if you understand that. So I'll start by pinning the first end. So the part where I didn't hem, the part I didn't fold is the part I'm placing down like so. Okay, so I just went ahead to pin there, and then I will manually make pleats on this. You can run gather stitches on this and then pin it down, whatever works for you, or you can just make manual pleats like I'm doing before going ahead to pin it down. But I'll advise whatever means you're using at the end of the day, ensure you iron it down so that it makes it relaxed and it gives it a more balance, like it makes it stay at that point. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So I'm just manually gathering this around this right here. Okay, so you can make your plates to be smaller, you can make them to be bigger. Now it is just whatever works for you. Okay, so you can make them to be bigger, you can make them to be smaller, whatever works for you. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, now if you have gotten to this point of this video and you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please and please subscribe to the channel. Your comments are highly welcomed, your suggestions also. Okay, so let me know in the comment section if you have any style idea you want me to show you how to make, or if you have any opinion whatsoever, right? So this is what we have at the end of the day. Like I said, I just went ahead to manually pleat this. So I'll take this out so you get a better view. So this is it. This is what it looks like. So that by the time we fold this up, you can see the drape we have like that. Okay, you can see how this came out. So what I went ahead to do is to give this a very good press. I went ahead to iron the area which I have pleated. You can see how it now makes it feel more relaxed. Okay, then I'll go ahead and run a stitch at the other end of it, like so. Just run a stitch that end. So I've done that. You can see how this looks. So we'll go ahead and continue with our skirt. So I'll bring in my back piece and I'll place it on top of it like so. Okay, ensuring the drape I have is in between the skirt and no longer by the side, so that I don't stitch this to the body of the skirt while I'm stitching the sides. I hope you understand that. Okay, I'll just pin down my zip allowance area so I can accurately take my measurements. So you can see how this is, both of them are equal on all ends, right? So I'll take my measurements on it like so. Now, what you do is to take the measurements around the fabric, whatever is remaining, share that between both sides. I don't know if you understand. Okay, for me, my round waist into two parts, share one to the right side. Do whatever you do to the right side, to the left side. I hope you got that correctly. So when you take the measurement around whatever you have left, share to the right and then share to the left. And then also do the same thing to the knee area. Okay. So I just went ahead to do that. And then I joined this in with a line so that I can see this clearly while I'm stitching down. I'll go ahead and stitch it. So I've stitched it down. This is what we have. All right, this is how it looks like. So we want to work on this other end. So just manually fold this like this for it to go up like so. Then we can go ahead and run a stitch on it like that. So ensure you're pinning this down just to the front part because you're only stitching this to the front, okay? Not to the front and back. So ensure you pin this just to the front part of your skirt, okay? Pin this down and then go ahead and run a stitch on it like that. And also ensure you don't stitch on both while you're stitching this down. So I've stitched it down. The remaining thing for me to do is to fix my band and my zipper. So thank you for watching this video, and please, if you've not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next